Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, a Raven who is also Brooke, and in today's video, I'll be talking about the life, the career, and the criticisms of Tyler Perry. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to follow me on all my social media platforms, and remember that this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Remember to keep it respectful in the comments, and let's just get right into the video. Tyler Perry was born Emmett Perry Jr. on September 13th, 1969 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And he has 3 siblings, and he was raised by his mother and his father, Emmett Perry Sr. Now, according to Tyler in an interview that he did back in 2010 with Oprah, he detailed how he was abused by his father and often severely, and also his father was very to his mother as well. And in that same interview with Oprah, he talked about how one time after a very bad beating that he got from his dad, he went to his aunt Jerry's house, and once his aunt saw the injuries that he had, she then got a gun and then went back to his house and told his father, if you ever touch him again, I will shoot you. And then after that, Tyler was pretty much around his aunt all the time. And because of the that he suffered by his father, he then changed his name to Tyler so he doesn't replicate the same name as his dad. And also in the same interview, he talked about being as a child by at least 4 different adults, one of those adults being his friend's mother. And he did get kicked out of high school, but he then did obtain his GED. And then in 1990, he moved to Atlanta with the dreams of becoming a playwright. And according to his website, tylerperry.com, he says that in 1992, he began writing his first play called I Know I've Been Changed. And at that time, he had multiple jobs, including being a bill collector, a car salesman, a waiter, just so he could save money to put this play into production to then be on stage. But unfortunately, the first few years were very slow. Not a lot of traction came to his stage play. But then in 1998, when he did a show in Atlanta at the House of Blues to a large crowd, things just started taking off from there, and he started touring locally with this play, and it even got to a point where he moved to the Fox Theater in Atlanta that has a very big capacity. And then according to yahoo.com, in 1999 he then wrote the play Woman Thou Art Lose, and it apparently made $5 million in 5 months. And the world was first introduced to the character Madea in 1999 when he put on his stage play I Can Do Bad by Myself. And then he went on to write, direct, and produce many more plays, including Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Madea's Family Reunion, and Madea Goes to Jail. Now we get to his rise in fame. It's definitely around the time where in 2005 he got to play Diary of a Mad Black Woman onto the big screen, and it starred Kimberly Elise and Shamar Moore. It grossed $22 million on a $5 million budget, and also that was the first time that we saw Madea on the big screen. And when it comes to the movies, I would definitely say that Diary of a Mad Black Woman is definitely one of the best, because after Diary of a Mad Black Woman, he then went on to release more movies on the big screen, including Madea's Family Reunion, Meet the Browns, Daddy's Little Girls, I Can Do Bad by Myself, Why Did I Get Married 1 and 2, which starred Jill Scott and Janet Jackson, and The Family That Prays. And The Family That Prays to me is Tyler Perry's, I don't know what mood he was in around that time to write that movie, but he absolutely did that. Like that was some good writing. That was some good storytelling. I'll give him that. And then he went on to have very successful TV shows, including House of Pain and Meet the Browns. And I definitely remember watching House of Pain because my dad would watch it when I was little. And that was actually a very good show too. Very good storylines. House of Pain was a good show. And then if you just want to talk about his continuing rise at this point, it's about 2009. And at this time, him and Oprah started to have a close relationship because they both were executive producers on the Oscar-winning film Precious. And then in 2012, he made a multi-year deal with OWN Network, which is Oprah Winfrey's TV network. He went on to have shows like The Have and Have Nots and Love Thy Neighbor. And at this time, he also went on to write, direct, and produce more movies throughout the 2010s, including Madea's Big Happy Family, Temptations, A Madea Christmas, Acrimony, the Boo Madea movies, and Madea's Family Funeral. And he also acted outside of his own productions, including Gone Girl, Don't Look Up, Alex Cross, and Star Trek. And then in 2015, he acquired land here in Atlanta, which was a former Confederate Fort McPherson Army base, and he created a motion picture studio containing 40 buildings, 12 purpose sound stages, and all those stages were named after prominent Black people, and a back lot across 330 acres. Also, the former area where Tyler Perry Studios used to be is actually right next to Greenbrier Mall, and it's actually kind of crazy now, kind of ironic that now that lot is basically like grounds for a really big church, I guess a mega church that you would call it, called 2819. And they have had their own, controversies that they have been through, one pretty recently. So I just feel like the irony in that is very funny, considering how Tyler Perry movies, a lot of them are very much heavily faith focused. And then he signed a deal with Viacom, which is the parent company to BET, and that was to provide exclusive content to BET. And then on BET, he went to create the shows Sisters, The Oval, and Ruthless. And later in the video, I will get into my story of just my reaction, basically, of when I watched the first episode of The Oval, and honestly, where the criticisms of Tyler Perry really began to sit in with me. Also, there are many rumors that Tyler Perry and many other prominent quote-unquote black moguls were trying to buy BET back in 2023 when it was up for sale, but Tyler Perry did not end up getting majority stake into BET. And The Hollywood Reporter had reported that Tyler Perry said that he was very disappointed in how Paramount had handled the process. And then in 2019, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And then by the end of the 2010s and 2019, he said he was retiring Madea, and the last film that Madea was supposed to be featured in was Madea Family Funeral. And I'm not gonna lie, that movie, it's not the best. It's just not, no. And then going into the 2020s, he released the infamous movie A Fall from Grace on Netflix, which again began to make my mind really soak in even more the criticisms that I now have of Tyler Perry. And then Madea came back in the movie Medea's Homecoming, which it wasn't it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. And I will say that A Fall from Grace definitely was the beginning of just hordes of criticism coming Tyler Perry's way. And of course, Tyler Perry has been facing criticism for his movies, for Madea, for a long time. But A Fall from Grace, like, this shift just happened where people were just more open, or maybe because social media was just more prominent, so of course there's more voices. But I just feel like this shift happened when A Fall from Grace came out. And then in 2021, he received the Jean Horsholt Humanitarian Award from the Academy. And it is awarded to an individual in the motion picture industry whose humanitarian efforts have brought credit to the industry. And then in 2022, he signed a 4-movie deal with Amazon Studios to have 4 films on Prime Video, and 3 films have been released so far, including Duplicity, Divorce in Black, and recently in December 2025, he released Finding Joy. And Duplicity, to me, the storyline was kind of, I just didn't like how it ended. I don't want to spoil it, but I just didn't like the motive to everything that happened in the movie. I actually made a video about it on my first channel before that got deleted. This was just an interesting direction to let the motive of the movie be what it was. Like this, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm about to spoil it. I'm sorry. So you haven't seen it, I'm about to spoil it. Oh, so basically the antagonists had conspired together to make a very political. It was a white cop killing a black man, and I just didn't, that direction just, I don't know. It was just an interesting direction. If I ever talk to him, like, that's a question, I would just be like, why would you choose that ending? Because that's just very side-eye-ish. And then with Divorce in Black, honestly, I just got lost in the plot. The plot had so many holes, because you will find that nowadays when you watch Tyler Perry movies, there's just a lot of, not particularly like the Madea movies, but like, for example, like Mea Culpa that was on Netflix, and with this Divorce in Black, there's just so many plot holes. Like, I have questions after this, especially in Divorce in Black, because the main antagonist, who was played by Corey Hardwick, he revealed something at the end of the movie, like he had his dad, and we just never revisited that. And even the Divorce in Black started so unserious. They took a man out of a casket. What are we doing here, Tyler? Like, what are we talking about? And then in 2024, he was giving a first look deal with Netflix. He has since created the show Beauty in Black. People have had positive reviews about it, and I've seen positive reviews, I should say, and I have seen some people just say they like watching it because it's just like quote unquote garbage TV. So some controversies that Tyler Perry has been in, for one, is with Spike Lee, because in 2009, Spike Lee did an interview where he was asked about Madea, and then he said that was coonery and buffoonery.
A complex subject. because each artist should be allowed to pursue the artistic endeavor. But I still think there a lot of stuff that's on today is coonery and buffoonery. And I know it's making a lot of money, breaking records, but we could do better.
And at the time, Tyler Perry responded by telling him to go to hell. But then, as of today in 2019, it seems like they made up with each other, because at that time is when it was the official opening of Tyler Perry Studios, and Tyler Perry had named one of the sound stages after Spike Lee. And according to People.com, he said this: Spike Lee, who was very vocal about my work, yes. As I said, God bless all y'all. Y'all do well, but I honor him because I don't care what he said. How can I ignore his contributions? Had he not done what he did, I wouldn't be here. And then Spike Lee went on that year to post something, taking a picture with Tyler Perry at a studio opening, and he was just congratulating him and even calling him a black mogul in the caption. And then when you go to YouTube and you find the video of what Spike Lee had said, the comments go all the way back 13 years ago, which is around like 2013, 2012. And it's interesting because during 2012, I want to say that was when Madea's Big Happy Family had came out. And it's interesting because people were saying the same criticisms. They were saying that they don't really like Tyler Perry movies. They think that he's very stereotypical of how he depicts black people. So it was just a very interesting thing to see. Now, another big controversy that still follows Tyler Perry to this day is when he revealed in 2020, when he did like an Instagram post of him showing a video of all the scripts that he has written for about 4 shows. And then in the caption, he says that this is work ethic. And then you can see on each, script that he is the only writer. And many people began tweeting like, oh, we can tell that you only write your stuff, and meaning that they think that the stuff he writes is bad. But many people are also feeling very admirable toward him, saying that's cool that he writes everything. But in my opinion, I think that it was like a 60-40 thing. 60% of people were looking at that negatively and 40% were looking at it positively. And then according to complex.com, after he got criticism for this video, he went on to say, at that time I had a bunch of writers who were non-union and I was unhappy with every single script they wrote. They were not speaking to the voice, they just didn't get it, he said. There was a black woman lawyer I was negotiating with to get WGA, Writers Guild of America writers, on my show. I told her I can't afford to pay those rates that every other studio pays. I need to structure differently. It looked like the deal was going to go through, so I fired the 4 writers and prepared to hire new writers to WGA. And then Perry denied claims that he had fired his original writers because they were trying to unionize, saying he went on to work with WGA writers for one of his series. Also, when it comes to writers, I remember seeing on Twitter like a few years ago about how back in like 2007, 2008, there was an incident that happened where 4 writers who were writing on House of Pain said that they were fired because they were trying to get unionized. And in the article I just talked about, Tyler Perry, of course, said, that's not true. The press just made that up. But I found different articles about it from that time of when all of that was allegedly happening, where Deadline said the Writers Guild of America West is taking on the fight for justice of writers who were fired when they tried to get a union contract with Tyler Perry's production company, House of Pain, LLC. The Guild today filed unfair labor practice charges with the National Labor Relations Board, alleging the House of Pain unlawfully fired 4 writers in retaliation for their union activity. And I also found another article from a website called Writers Digest, which again is from around that time, or like 2009, which says that, anyways, as you may remember, last month I posted several posts about the Writers Guild taking on Tyler Perry Studios, which was producing TBS's hit show House of Pain without using WGA writers, and then it fired 4 writers who tried to unionize. The Guild put up a strong fight, including sending an army of screenwriters to the protest Pain's grand opening in Atlanta. And then it says, well, good news. As of Wednesday, thanks to some help from the NAACP, Tyler Perry has agreed to cooperate with the Guild and make his TV shows union. This will ensure the writer staffs on Perry shows will receive health and medical benefits, pensions, and reasonable working hours and conditions. A huge and long overdue victory for writers. But then it talks about how the 4 writers fired just unfortunately never got their jobs back. Now let's get into the lost media idea of the infamous Boondocks episode called Pause. And in this episode, there's a character who resembles very closely to Tyler Perry. And this character was named Winston Jerome. He was a closeted, cross-dressing head of a cult, hiding behind his Christian faith. And something interesting in a 2010 Atlanta magazine said, in an interview with us earlier this year, actress Regina King, who provides the voice of Boondocks brothers Huey and Riley on the show, previewed that there might be significant fallout from the pointed Perry-themed episode. And this is back in 2010 when the episode did air. And according to Crack.com, though Perry never publicly responded to the ruthless ridicule of Pause, he reportedly threatened to sever his relationship with Turner Broadcasting, who hosted 2 of Perry's hit TV shows when Pause aired in 2010, if the TV conglomerate didn't censor this episode. As a result, Pause was scrubbed from the airways, and according to the fans, so was the Boondocks. And also, this episode is even banned from ever being rerun anywhere. So this really is technically lost media, but you can find, like, I think the whole episode, or clips of the episode online, and even like pictures of it. Now let's get into this lawsuits that Tyler Perry has faced in the recent months. Now, the first lawsuit was filed June 13th in 2025 by Derek Dixon, who is an actor on his show The Oval, and he filed a $250 million lawsuit in California, suing Tyler Perry for workplace and harassment and for retaliation. And according to Atlanta News First, Dixon is alleging that Tyler Perry would send him unwanted text messages. He allegedly assaulted him on multiple occasions, and if he didn't comply, he threatened to kill his character on The Oval. And then on December 28, 2025, a second man named Mario Lopez sued Tyler Perry for $77 million, and he acted in the first Madea Halloween movie. And according to Complex.com, the lawsuit alleges that Tyler Perry gave unwanted sexual advances toward Mario, and then in this lawsuit, Mario alleges that Tyler Perry has him in his Los Angeles home and that the studio Lionsgate didn't do anything about it. Also, I think just a very big controversy with Tyler Perry as well is the character Madea, because for many years people have said that Madea is a negative stereotype toward Black women and is a mammy figure on TV, where most of the time it was just a Black woman that was always caring for white people and always being there hand and foot, doing anything for them, embarrassing themselves on TV, again being a caricature. Now when it comes to Madea, I guess the positives I could say about Madea is that she tried to keep family together. She was always there to help out family when they need anything, like when Helen needed to get away from Charles and Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And then in Medea's family reunion, I can't remember either sister's name, but it was the sister that had the 2 kids, and Madea let them stay with her. And even how Madea, well, she was forced to, never mind. I was talking about Keke Palmer, but she was forced to. But just how she was always trying to keep family together, that was a positive. But I feel like I would be very dense and I would look very obtuse if I also didn't acknowledge that Madea absolutely shows negative stereotypes about Black women, because she does always do these very violent, outlandish things. Like she ran into a fast food restaurant, she fought someone in a parking lot. Her character is known to always be getting in and out of jail. Not the best image at all to portray a Black woman on screen, especially when, and this just goes into my overall thoughts about Tyler Perry, because Tyler Perry, you know, he had made that comment about 2 years ago about people in the Black community who had negative thoughts about his movies, saying that they were highbrow Negroes. And my thing with Tyler Perry is, right, this man is a billionaire. He has the means and the resources to put on amazing movies and TV shows and have amazing production. Because, for example, remember I was talking about earlier how The Oval pissed me off. I will never forget, I was a freshman in school, I was in the dining hall, and I was like, for some reason, let me watch The Oval and get into it, because it was like reminding me of Scandal. When I saw that fighting scene in that first episode between that man and his wife, and just how that fighting looked so bad, it was just like, what am I I was appalled. I really was appalled. And I don't even want to blame it on the actors. I honestly, when it comes to Tyler Perry, I never want to blame it on the actors and the actresses, because you have to think about the script that they are being given. Because also a big criticism that I have with Tyler Perry is that it's like he'll have a great concept for horror movie, but it's never executed well on screen. It's just a hot mess. And even when it was revealed by many people who have worked with him that usually he films movies in like 2 or 3 days, I guess, again, I'm not a director, but I don't know how you can film a movie in two or 3 days and make it cohesive and good. Like, even when you think about A Fall from Grace, I'll never forget, it was that one scene where you could tell like they were just driving around like this one certain lot that I'm pretty sure it's in his, studios. And it's just like, Tyler, you have all the money in the world. And even like how his productions look sometimes. It's just like, Tyler, you have all the money in the world, all the resources in the world. And I think when it comes to that point, another frustration that people have is because you have all this money, and also because when it does come to Black TV and movies, like, you're the figurehead of it. You are the only person right now who has the means to produce all these shows and movies. So why does it feel like not a lot of effort is put into it? That's people's problems. People are mad that you have the means. It just feels like you're not using it correctly. Because what are we doing here? And here's the thing, right? I also remember too that I tried to watch the Madea movie that came out last year, I believe, and it was like Medea's Family Vacation, something about destination wedding, something. Even when I watched that movie, I was getting so pissed off of how awful this was, of how rushed it felt, and how it was just not good. And I didn't understand, because I'm like, Tyler, you have all this money, you have all these resources. Why does the production look like this? And of course, a main criticism of Tyler Perry is the storylines. And then he has said himself that he wants to tell the stories of the Black community, of the strong women that he grew up around, of the Black family. And it's like, everyone gets that, and we appreciate that you want to do that, but does every story have to be so damn traumatizing? And again, because you kind of are the figurehead of Black TV and movies, why don't you ever try to make something that feels joyous and happy instead of just traumatizing and draining to watch? I feel like the consensus is that no one is mad that you want to make those type of movies. It's just, why is that the only type of movie that you want to make? And I am very well aware, and I feel like I need to also emphasize this, that Tyler Perry has given jobs to many Black actors and actresses and has paid them very well, especially how in Hollywood a lot of Black actors and actresses are not paid well compared to their white counterparts. I absolutely understand that. Please do not get me wrong. Like, that is a very great thing, and I am so happy that Tyler Perry does it. However, again, the quality. But I have to play devil's advocate, right? Because people are absolutely right in the sense that people do still go and watch these movies. I'm guilty of it. I went and watched Duplicity and Mea Culpa and Divorce in Black, knowing how I was going to feel at the end of that movie, that I probably was going to feel very underwhelmed. It's just so weird, because at the end of the day, yes, he could use better quality in his movies, and he definitely could probably use writers who have a better perspective of things than he does, and who can bring fresh ideas to the table. And maybe those people can write happy movies maybe better than he can. He can start, producing movies that are more joyous. But at the end of the day, people are still watching his movies, which of course is going to make him continue to make the TV and movie that he has made. So I feel like, honestly, even when it comes to the criticism of Tyler, it does almost feel like a circle in a sense, because people can complain all they want to, like I do sometimes, about his movies, but at the end of the day, they're going to break some record on Amazon Prime or Netflix, and a lot of people are going to tune in. But again, it's so unfortunate, because he has the means to create amazing TV shows and movies that don't feel rushed, that don't portray negative stereotypes of Black families, of Black friendships, of Black relationships. Again, that's the most frustrating thing about him. He has some means. It just feels like he does not use them. And that's the intriguing thing about Tyler Perry. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I would love to hear you guys' opinions in the comments. Remember to keep it respectful, and remember to always keep life cute, fab, and fun. And I will see you guys in the next video.